From winning the Heisman Trophy to becoming the #1 overall pick in the NFL Draft, Baker Mayfield was once touted as the best young quarterback in the entire NFL. But now, after the Cleveland Browns have traded for Deshaun Watson and have seemingly given up on him, Baker Mayfield's NFL career is hanging on by a thread. Here's the rise and fall of Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield was born April 15, 1995 in Austin, Texas, and somehow after being born and raised in Longhorn country, Baker Mayfield chose the other side of the river when he became an Oklahoma fan. In high school, Baker Mayfield attended the football powerhouse, Lake Travis, where he had to wait his turn behind Michael Brewer and Colin Lagacy. But when he finally got his opportunity, he led the Cavaliers to a 25-2 record in 2 seasons, winning the 2011 4A state championship. He would go on to finish his high school career totaling 6,255 passing yards, 67 touchdowns, and only 8 interceptions. But despite Baker Mayfield producing at a high level, he was a lowly rated 3-star recruit according to 24/7 Sports, holding only 3 Division I offers. And rather than settle for one of those programs, Baker Mayfield decided to bet on himself by choosing to walk on at Texas Tech. At Texas Tech, Baker Mayfield surprised everyone by becoming the first ever walk-on true freshman quarterback to start the season opener in college football history. And after only 5 games, he had nearly 1,500 yards and was making it rain in Cliff Kingsbury's air raid offense. Unfortunately, in a Week 5 game against Kansas, Baker Mayfield sprained his MCL and was forced to sit out the next 5 weeks. During those weeks, Baker Mayfield couldn't do anything, as week after week, he was watching freshman quarterback Davis Webb steal his shine. And once he was healthy again, Baker Mayfield would ultimately regain his starting position for the last 3 weeks. But things seemed a bit weird between him and head coach Cliff Kingsbury, so much so that Baker Mayfield said this: "When I got hurt, there was no communication between me and my coach, and once I got healthy, I didn't know why I wasn't playing right away. At that time, we were losing a bunch of games in a row, and I was just clueless as to why I wasn't playing, and that was really frustrating for me." And due to these feelings, Baker Mayfield would announce at the end of the season that he would be transferring from Texas Tech due to not being offered a scholarship for the spring semester. And to this day, Cliff Kingsbury has denied that he wouldn't have offered Baker Mayfield a spring scholarship. In January of 2014, Baker Mayfield announced that he would be transferring to his dream school, Oklahoma. But instead of contacting the coaching staff to let them know, he just showed up, due to not wanting to sit out an extra year because of the transfer rules at the time. A few days later, head coach Bob Stoops announced that Baker Mayfield was a part of the team, and shortly after, Baker Mayfield would go on to file an appeal with the NCAA to allow him to become immediately eligible for the Sooners, stating that due to him being a walk-on for Texas Tech, the scholarship transfer rules didn't apply to him. A couple months later, the NCAA denied his appeal, forcing him to sit out the entire 2014 season. And by the time 2015 rolled around, Baker Mayfield had been working on his game for an entire year on scout team and had already impressed the coaches, which led to him winning the starting job after a long quarterback battle with Trevor Knight. Over the course of the 2015 season, Baker Mayfield absolutely dominated the Big 12, proving that the coaching staff made the right decision, as he finished the year with 3,700 passing yards and 36 touchdowns. And due to his stellar play, Baker Mayfield was awarded with a trip to New York City, where he was recognized as a 2015 Heisman Trophy finalist. And even though he finished in 4th place, Baker Mayfield was just getting started. During fall camp, right before the start of the 2016 season, legendary Oklahoma head coach Bob Stoops announced that this would be his last season coaching the Sooners. And Baker Mayfield went out and dominated once again, as him and future NFL MVP Patrick Mahomes had the greatest quarterback duel in college football history, as the two quarterbacks went blow for blow and finished the game with a combined 1,383 yards and 12 touchdowns. An absolutely amazing performance that will never be forgotten. Fast forward to the end of 2016, when Baker Mayfield had amassed a ridiculous 3,965 passing yards and 40 touchdowns. Oh yeah, and another trip to New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony, this time finishing 3rd behind Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson. But just as things were looking up for Baker Mayfield, a month later, he would be arrested in Arkansas after a night out where he was being questioned by police due to the suspicion of public intoxication. And for some reason, he tried to run from them and they tackled him into a wall, which added more charges to the list. And once this news was public, he came out and apologized for his actions, but little did anyone know, this was just the beginning. After dealing with the backlash from the media following his arrest, new Oklahoma head coach Lincoln Riley decided to take Baker Mayfield under his wing, leading to the creation of an unbreakable bond with his new quarterback that ultimately accelerated the development of Baker Mayfield. So much so that Baker Mayfield and the Oklahoma Sooners traveled to Columbus, Ohio to face off against the Ohio State Buckeyes, the team who had beat them the year prior, but this time the two roles were reversed and the Sooners would come out with the dub, which led Baker Mayfield to do the unthinkable when he grabbed the Oklahoma Sooners flag and planted it firmly in the middle of Ohio Stadium, claiming it as their own. After this game, Baker Mayfield yet again received a ton of backlash for his antics and immediately apologized. Fast forward to week 12 when the Oklahoma Sooners traveled to Lawrence, Kansas to play the Kansas Jayhawks, and during this game, the cameras were fixed on Baker Mayfield the entire game. He was caught fired up, mouthing off, and disrespecting the Jayhawks all game on the sideline, which led to yet another public apology. But this time, head coach Lincoln Riley was forced into action, removing Baker as a captain for next week's game against West Virginia. To end off the season, Baker Mayfield would finally make a trip to New York and leave with some hardware when he walked away with the 2017 Heisman Trophy. He ended his college career with 4,627 passing yards and 43 touchdowns in his final season. After the completion of an infamous college career, Baker Mayfield was now an NFL prospect, the top prospect at that. And at the 2018 NFL Combine, all eyes were on him in Lucas Oil Stadium, and he didn't disappoint, showing that he had gotten stronger and had improved his throwing mechanics that were notorious for being inconsistent. Fast forward to draft day, when the Cleveland Browns selected Baker Mayfield number 1 overall. A team that had been searching for their franchise quarterback for nearly a decade had now had their guy, but many analysts didn't approve of this pick at the time, stating that the Browns should have drafted Saquon Barkley, who was seen as the unanimous best player available. As Baker Mayfield was starting off his NFL career, the Cleveland Browns starred on HBO's Hard Knocks, where it was basically centered around Baker, and after a long training camp, Baker Mayfield was the second-string quarterback to Tyrod Taylor, and would do so until week 3 when Tyrod Taylor was injured in a game against the New York Jets. After stepping in down 14-0, Baker Mayfield went 17 of 23 passing for 201 yards, leading the Browns to a 21-17 victory, ending their winless streak at 19 games. After this game, Baker Mayfield became the first quarterback since Fran Tarkenton in 1961 to come off the bench in their NFL debut and lead their team to a win. The following week, Baker Mayfield was named the starter, becoming the Cleveland Browns' 30th starting quarterback since 1999. And over the course of the season, Baker Mayfield improved each game as the legend of Baker Mayfield reached an all-time high when he led the Browns to a 7-8-1 record, their best since 2007. And on top of that, he broke the rookie record for the most passing touchdowns, surpassing Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson. After an amazing rookie season where Baker Mayfield surprised everyone and made the Cleveland Browns a relevant team again, he had become a superstar overnight and was constantly on TV and commercials, so much so that many experts began to think he wasn't as focused on football going in his second season. And after week 1, he proved all his doubters right when he threw 3 fourth-quarter interceptions to an average Titans defense as the Browns lost 43-13. In the post-game interview, Baker Mayfield stated, "I just think everyone needs to be more disciplined. I think everybody knows what the problem is. We'll see if it's just bad technique or dumb penalties." But even with the comments, Baker Mayfield will continue his gunslinger ways, ultimately finishing the season with an abysmal 21 interceptions, which was the second worst in the entire NFL behind Jameis Winston's 30. The only good thing about Baker Mayfield's second season was that he had become the first Cleveland Browns quarterback to start all 16 games since Tim Couch in 2001, a gigantic achievement for a team who consistently recycles quarterbacks. As the world was dealing with the virus, Baker Mayfield was dealing with his own issue, the media. The media was after Baker Mayfield like a pack of wild dogs after his embarrassing 2019 season, which made Baker Mayfield put the sponsorships to the side and focus on football. In week 1, Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns were absolutely embarrassed by the Baltimore Ravens when they lost 6-38. But after this game, the Browns would go on a win streak for the rest of the month, as newly hired Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski elected to use Baker Mayfield as more of a game manager and rely more on his dominant backfield in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. This was a great decision as Baker Mayfield was able to relax a little, but a Week 6 injury against the rival Steelers forced Baker Mayfield out of the game. He had to return in Week 7 on fire, setting a new career high with 5 touchdowns. For the rest of the 2020 regular season, Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns were rolling as they finished the season 11-5, clinching their first playoff berth since 2002, which was the longest active playoff drought in the NFL. Baker Mayfield finished the 2020 season with 3,563 passing yards and 26 touchdowns. In his postseason debut, Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns would face off against the rival Pittsburgh Steelers in the wildcard round. And without their head coach, Baker Mayfield went out and led the Browns to their first playoff win since 1994, behind his 263 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. In the following week against the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, Baker Mayfield and the Browns were totally outmatched, as they started terribly slow and allowed the Chiefs to take a 19-3 lead at the half. The Browns rallied, but ultimately were defeated by the Chiefs, even with the late Patrick Mahomes injury. After a season that saw the greatest success for the Browns of recent memory, the Cleveland Browns decided to accept a 5th-year option on Baker Mayfield's contract, keeping him with the Browns through the 2022 season. Things were going great as Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns were predicted to reach the Super Bowl by some experts with a healthy Odell Beckham Jr. and an improved defense. But once the season started, things didn't go as planned, when during a Week 2 victory over the Houston Texans, Baker Mayfield partially tore his labrum and he played through this injury until Week 6 against the Arizona Cardinals, where he re-aggravated the injury. Due to this injury, Baker Mayfield was ruled out for the Browns' Week 7 game against the Denver Broncos, missing his first game since taking over as the Browns starter. Baker Mayfield would return the following week and would continue to play through this injury until November 14, 2021 versus the New England Patriots, where Mayfield suffered a right knee contusion. And while the injury was not as severe, Kevin Stefanski decided to keep him on the sideline for the rest of the game due to the Browns taking an absolute beating. To wrap up the season, Baker Mayfield will continue to play through all his injuries, leaving many to wonder why he was even out there as his play was horrendous. And finally, after a 4-interception performance against the Steelers in Week 17, the Browns announced that he would undergo surgery and placed him on injured reserve. Mayfield threw for 3,010 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions in only 14 games, the lowest of his entire career. After an abysmal season from Baker Mayfield, the Cleveland Browns decided enough was enough, shocking the world by trading for Deshaun Watson amid immense controversy. And to make that whole situation worse for Baker, the Browns signed Deshaun Watson to a record-breaking $230 million, fully guaranteed contract. And as we sit here today, Baker Mayfield is either going into 2022 as a backup to Deshaun Watson on the Browns, or he'll get traded to a new team and will have to prove himself once again.
Tell me why they sleeping on me.